The episode of Track Limits you're about to watch is going to be a little bit different than what I've done in the past. So typically I have a script, go by that, a lot of chopping. This one is going to be more like a conversation, just like I'm talking to you. I have bullet points right here, and I'm going to make this basically like a non-chopped video, except for the intro. Welcome to Track Limits. Today we're talking about the Spanish GP. This past weekend, Spanish GP was one of the most exciting races of the year in the last 5 laps due to a wide array of topics. But first, let's dive into exactly what happened. Piastri. It was Piastri's perfect weekend again, and he started from the pole and led the whole thing. I mean, it was amazing to see what he's able to do in this car and how much better McLaren is. There was a point in time when Ferrari went on a better tire than McLaren did, specifically Leclerc, and the speed still wasn't there. Now, obviously, Oscar was in clean air, but I mean, the tires were 15 to 20 laps older. So, this McLaren is a rocket ship, and what he's done, specifically with Piastri, is he has now proven to himself that he can outperform Lando, even when Lando has a pretty decent day. And that is very interesting to see the dynamic there. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are about Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, and what this means for a team, for the McLaren team, because Oscar seems to be the better driver. I mean, obviously, he has the most wins this season. He's leading the championship standings. What do you think about that? Let's now talk about, though, McLaren as a whole. This is their first 1-2 in Spain since the year 2000, which is huge because there are teams that have done well in the past. And as a momentum builder at non-historical or tracks that aren't very good in their for specific teams, this is big for McLaren. I know it's just like, oh, it's just another 1-2, but they are performing at tracks that they haven't had the best success at, and the fact that they were able to finish 1-2 the first time literally in 2 decades, huge statement. And also, another thing that I want to talk about as I'm looking through my notes here is this guy, Mr. Charles Leclerc. I mean, a P3 in that Ferrari, due to the strategy, due to them having that extra set of medium tires, is what got them in that position. Now, obviously, we'll talk about the end of the race and the whole Max situation and Max going on those hard set of tires. But for Ferrari, that is what they needed to then elevate them into what I predicted was going to happen in the team standings. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But what a finish for Leclerc. He didn't have the pace to match the McLarens, but he had the pace, he had the tires, he had the strategy to beat Max Verstappen. Now let's talk about Mr. Mad Max himself. So Red Bull's strategy just kind of backfired. The only set of tires they had at the end of the race were hards, and that just wasn't going to work. And they struggled for grip, especially after the restart. We saw him have that amazing save, by the way. One of the best saves you're probably going to see in a Formula One car. That car was everything but wrecked, and he saved it. But let's walk through this whole situation at the end of the race, which is what's made it so exciting. So 5 laps to go is when they get the green. And Max Verstappen was in 3rd, and Mr. Charles Leclerc was in 4th. And coming out of the last turn, Max absolutely fishtails out of the corner, and Leclerc's like, oh my gosh, I need to pass him. Well, on the restart, you cannot pass until you reach the start-finish line. So Leclerc had to time this perfectly, which he did. Now, some will say Max Verstappen ran into Charles Leclerc. Some will say, as in Max, will say, oh, Leclerc ran into me. Nico Rosberg on the broadcast was basically like, Max, stop it. This is not Leclerc's fault. You ran into him. Either way, that was contact number 1. Contact number 2, and they may have started 4-5, excuse me, on that one. Now, thinking about how this evolved, that was contact number 1. Contact number 2, George Russell and Max Verstappen made contact again. This time, George Russell seemingly to make contact with Max Verstappen. Well, on the radio, Max's team was like, you know what? You got to give that spot back, Max. And Max was like, what do you mean I have to give that spot back? So Max decided to give the spot back, but then it looked like he potentially locked up. He potentially was frustrated. Who knows really what exactly happened, but it looked very, very rough on the broadcast. It looked like Max literally in NASCAR terms, door slammed or wheel slammed, I guess, in open wheel cars, George Russell out of the way. That was probably the most exciting moment that we have seen this season. One of the most exciting. I think last season, this could be paired with the Lando Max battle where they both got flat tires from incidents with each other. And so what this resulted in is a 10-second penalty, license penalty points as well, and Max dropped from 5th all the way down to 10th, almost out of the points. And, you know, the big thing is Max is very, very, very close now to a one-race ban. And that's a topic of conversation. If this keeps on going with Max, I mean, I hate to say it, but he could have a ban if he gets a couple more penalty points. And so some of the big surprises I want to talk about, and this is massive, massive news. Nico Hülkenberg, P5, the first time he's been in the top 5 is since 2019 in the Italian GP. I mean, that is phenomenal. And that is something that you don't see often with Nico, which is good to see that he finished up there. But let's talk about a few other teams in the results. Isaac Hadjar, another amazing finish in P7. Pierre Gasly, a finish in P8. Fernando Alonso, P9. I think the big winner here is Nico Hülkenberg. And if I have to give my Happy Hour Racing Happiest of Them All award, I got to give it to Nico. I mean, a P5 in a Kick Sauber? I mean, come on. I mean, on one hand, I hate it because he finished ahead of a Ferrari and Kick has Ferrari engines. Either way, on the other hand, he got a P5 in that car, which is, probably one of the biggest storylines of the season outside of Isaac Hadjar getting his best career finish a couple weeks ago. So what a run. What a run by Nico. And I think that is something that you cannot discount. You cannot discount that for that team and what that means. And so one thing I will have to say, and another elephant in the room, is what happened with Lance Stroll. That was another topic of conversation. Well, Lance Stroll apparently was not too pleased at the end of some of the sessions in Spain. Apparently went on a little bit of a rampage, and let's say his hand got injured. Now, there are people that are blowing this way out of proportion, saying that there's a lot more severe things that happened. I've heard things that he punched a wall. I've heard things that people say that he slammed some things around, that he was cursing team members out. Whatever it was, something happened in that paddock that I don't know, and I hope he gets better. I never want to see a driver injured for whatever reason it might be, even if it's his own doing. And so, Lance Stroll, hope you get better, get back on the track. But if I don't think punching a wall is a very good idea if that's actually what happened. Either way, let's look at the championship picture, specifically with the driver standing. So I want to pull it up right now. So right now, Oscar Piastri is 10 points ahead of his teammate Lando Norris. But the big movers have been looking at Max Verstappen. Obviously, that gap has grown between Lando Norris and himself. George Russell is now in 4th, and then Leclerc sitting in P5 with 94 points. The big thing that I want to talk about, also the other one, is Lewis Hamilton now in 6th above Kimi Antonelli. I want to talk about the team standing. So I made a bold prediction last week that Ferrari would be P2 in the team standings after this week. Lo and behold, what happened? They are now P2, jumping Red Bull and jumping Mercedes. So that is massive for Ferrari when it comes to many different factors, from allocation of points, money, all those fun things. So Ferrari is now in P2. So McLaren, 362 points. They're sailing away. They are sailing away with this. Ferrari at 165 in 2nd, Mercedes with 159 in 3rd, and Red Bull with 144 in 4th. Williams is now solidifying their team as the 5th place team. The closest team to them is Racing Bulls with 28 points. Haas has 26. Kick has 16. Aston Martin has 16. And Alpine has 11. But Williams sitting there in 5th with 54 points is not something that we need to take lightly. Now, again, it was a terrible weekend, to say the least, with Albon finishing, all the way in the back. Carlos Sainz finishing in 14th. I mean, with Albon retiring that car, same thing with Antonelli. I mean, it wasn't a good weekend for those two drivers. But either way, this race was absolutely chaotic. Chaotic. I was at the edge of my seat. So if you haven't watched the final 5 laps, go watch the final 5 laps. You'll be on the edge of your seat. And so what does this mean? Piastri is now going to be the championship leader. He solidified that He was the championship leader, but that win helped him out a little bit after Lando's win in Monaco. McLaren's running away with this. It seems like Ferrari with Leclerc has been able to find something there. Max is kind of unraveling a little bit, and he's under pressure. Red Bull is under pressure because Yuki was not great. If I go back to the results really quick, let's pan to the qualifying. I believe Yuki was all the way in the back. I believe he was 20th. Yeah, he was the slowest car on the grid in qualifying, which is not good for Red Bull. But either way, the next race that's going to be coming up is the Canadian Grand Prix, and that's in 2 weekends from now. And so I'm not going to dive too deep into, but I'm just going to give you a brief statement about when action starts. It actually starts in 10 days from recording. This is recording on June 3rd, but we have June 13th to June 15th. That is when Practice 1, Practice 2, Practice 3 qualifying and the race will take place. So 2 weekends from now, we have another Formula One race now going to north of the United States, which is Canada. Either way, want to say congratulations to Oscar Piastri on an amazing win. Congratulations to Nico. And also, if you haven't already, go check out Happy Hour Racing. They have all the racing gear that you will need, you will want. You have race win shirts. So many things that you would want as a race fan all in one place. So go check them out at Happy Hour Racing. And as always, as we wrap up today's kind of fireside chat, conversational video, no edits, going all the way through, you know what I'm going to say. Keep it within track limits and make sure to tune in next week to my preview, goodness gracious, my preview of the 2025 Canadian GP. And all I got to say after this is, hope you have a good rest of your week. Make sure to tune in to all the other channels or all the other videos here on ATYL Media. See, it's hard to do. It's hard to keep a video in my mind straight for going on almost 12 minutes now without a cut. So I'm going to try to do this more to make it a little bit more conversational. That way you can listen to this, almost like a podcast style conversation there. So either way, hope you have a good rest of your week. Make sure to tune into all the creators here on ATYL Media. Make sure to hit that subscribe right there. Boom, I will edit that in, and I'll see you next week. Ciao.